Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Paps, a racing VTuber and artist, and today we're not. I have CSP working on something that we're not open on something that we're not going to be working on. That's my bad. That's hang on. I guess that could be a teaser for the Yakuza 0 thumbnail for Friday. But yeah, we are going to be working on page 10, which is right over here. Yeah, we finished most of it last time. Now we need to just do this last little panel. Okay. And what's going to be a little bit difficult about this is that Did I end up doing a different pattern? Yeah. What's going to be a little bit difficult about this is that the whole thing is that, like, Hawk is going to be cornered up against the border of the panel. And I kind of have... I'm wondering how to do it, because I feel like maybe if I just... That zoomed in way too fast. If I maybe just, like, do this very part of the jetpack kind of clanging against the border, I think I should be fine. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do. Let's start with the jetpack first. That's not the right color. Should also probably only use around an 8 pixel width brush. I don't know. Recently, I feel like I've become something of a... I've gained something of a preference for, like, working in larger canvases so that way I can use slightly thicker brushes. It just makes line art and filling the coloring process, actually, rather than line art, much easier to do. I think that might have also been a reason that I've developed such specific quirks for coloring, because I feel like a lot of the time hang on. A lot of the time I'm kind of worried about how it's going to work in the coloring stage. I remember when I was in high school, I finally figured out how to get the anti-aliasing to work in such a way that I could actually fill lines. So actually, it's more like I figured out how to make the anti-aliasing not work. So the thing is, right? Oh, thank you, Bunny, for the posture check. I have straightened my back. Yeah, so when you use aliased lines, right? Hang on. When you use alias lines, so these are anti-aliased lines, right? There's a little bit of a gradient on each one. You might be able to see that a little bit better here. When you use alias lines, it's just straight up, it's either colored or not colored, right? There's no kind of like transparency like there is here. And when that happens, if you also turn off the anti-aliasing on the... I could just duplicate this line. I don't know why I'm... Oh, that's kind of a neat pen. When you also use or turn off the aliasing or turn on the aliasing, turn off the anti-aliasing. Okay, so is turning off anti-aliasing the same thing as turning on aliasing? I've always felt that, like, anti-aliasing is something you turn on, and then when you turn it off, it's going back to normal. But then it's also like you're kind of turning on aliasing, because the anti-aliasing is the default. I feel like this is kind of a chicken or egg kind of situation. I don't know, like, I feel like alias lines probably came first, right? When did anti-aliasing get developed anyway? Actually, and one more thing. Hang on, where's the sketch for this? Okay. Not this one, not this one, not this one. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move the lines that we've already drawn, obviously. And then right on the outside of the border here, just going to draw a small, like, impact effect right there. Then we're just going to add a few shake lines to here and here. There we go. Okay, then over here. I don't know if this makes the jetpack a little too small. Or maybe, hang on, maybe I need to like raise Hawk's body a little bit. Yeah, something about this anatomy is kind of screwy, actually, isn't it? Maybe if I lower the jetpack, that'll help. I think that's going to be the winning strategy here. Yeah, I think that helped a lot. Yeah, because that way it helps her body just look a little bit longer than it actually is. If I also just kind of stretched out this part here, I feel like that could also help. Lower this part here. All right, I can feel it. I see the vision. Yeah, and actually, this might be a good way to pair this up with the other half here. There we go. Okay, then put this here. I don't know why, but whenever a character is like cornered like this, I remember that one SpongeBob bit where it's like, "Stay back! I'm warning you!" And like he pulls out piano out of nowhere, and he's like, "Where'd you get the piano?" And then, particularly the guy gets swanged by the piano. I don't know. I just feel like it's funny when the implausibility of something is questioned, but it's never like it doesn't deflate the situation at all. It's a rare thing that to be able to like point out the right, like, okay, so a small conversation about like, how do I put this, like genuineness, I guess, in media, right? Like when a lot of the times when a piece of media or like when something you watch points out that the kind of like tropes and conventions of its genre, right? So like a like if this were another cartoon, right? Like instead of like saying instead of like SpongeBob backing up, being like "Stay back, I'm warning you," they'd be like, "Or what? You're gonna like hit me with an anvil or something?" Looney Tunes and all that. That's like what people usually do. Like they point out how ridiculous the things are and then don't do anything with them. I think it's almost better when it's not pointed. It's not just pointed out, but like ideally it would not be pointed out. I feel like we've had enough of situations where like characters are genre aware and they point out the kind of situations that they're in. It's very I don't know. It's everybody thought it was clever one time, and then like 500,000 people thought that it was like the funniest thing ever, and now it's all just that. I feel like that happens a lot, doesn't it? In any case, I feel like even if you point something out, right, that means that you have to. I feel like that means that you have to work harder to make it funnier or more entertaining than the thing that you've pointed it out, right? Like it's not just that you're pointing out the convention. You have to make that meaningful by either one upping the convention or doing something interesting with it. But I feel like it's very in a lot of cases what they do is that they just point out the convention and expect that to be the whole bit when that generally doesn't really work. There's no it's I mean, I guess it works. I guess it works if you've not really like had much experience with that type of joke setup, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. On to some brighter news. I learned today that apparently, okay, so if you didn't know about this already, Apple was at some point trying to manufacture a car. Apple, the phone company slash really crappy laptop company. We can get into that some other time. But Apple, the technology company, wanted to make an electric vehicle because I guess that was like the flex before all this cryptocurrency bullshit and all that is just like if you make technology, you need to be able to make an electric vehicle. I think that this was announced like way like almost a decade back. By the way, like this isn't recent news. Like most people were aware that Apple was trying to do something with electric vehicles, but very recently they have announced that they are no longer pursuing that. They have given up on the electric vehicles. Yes. And then they mentioned that most of their workforce for that is instead being shunted to AI. Fuck. It was like it was very much a kind of like win lose situation for me reading the news about that. Because on the one hand, thank God Apple isn't making a car. Could you fucking imagine an Apple car? An Apple car. Yeah, getting out of a trap and falling into a hole. God. It's like dodging a bullet only to throw yourself on top of like I don't know. A dog that says like will bite. But God, the Apple car charging cables nobody would have used. Battery lifespan of like 30 minutes on low power. Cup holders that you have to like jimmy with a paperclip to pop out. It would have been awful. But yeah, thankfully we have dodged that particular bullet. It's weird though. I feel like out of all the fucking tech companies that have been jumping onto the AI bandwagon, I feel like Apple's been uncharacteristically quiet. I don't know. I expected them to also like be super quick with it, like Microsoft was, but I don't know. They're not doing much. Like they said that they're shunting some of the Apple Car people to AI, but like come to think of it, they haven't really done much with it, have they? Not that I'm complaining; it's a relief, but like I don't know. It makes me nervous that they're doing something worse. It's like one of those like action movies where they're like it's quiet, too quiet. That's literally how it feels like when Apple has gone like like a year or so without fucking something up. How's this? Okay. God, could you imagine being one of the guys who I don't know? I feel like nobody really thought Apple could do it, right? Like I feel like in most of the conversations, you know, we make fun of Apple a lot, rightfully so, for like their stupid AR ski mask headset thing that they've been putting out. But like, I don't think anybody expected them to make a functioning car. I feel, or at least a successful functioning car. I don't know. There have been a lot of successful non-functioning cars. I remember there was a story of one particular car, the Dale, that was supposed to be like an answer in the market for like super lightweight. Like this was like in the 80s or 70s in the US, where they were starting to import more cars from East Asia, specifically Japan, because they had like much lighter weight models. They had like some benefits that American cars didn't. And so they wanted like a super lightweight American vehicle, which is how the Pinto was made. Also, coincidentally, if you've forgotten about the Pinto, it's the car that if you bumped it too hard, it started catching on fire. That's a whole other story, though. But the Dale, right? It was made by this. I'm pretty sure it was made by. It was like marketed by this. I don't. This woman. I forget her name. I'm trying to remember her name. But yeah, it was like marketed almost single-handedly by this woman, and she got like a huge investment from like all over the place for it. But eventually, it turned out that there was no car. There wasn't any actual Dale. The whole thing was just a scam, and she ran off with the money. Kind of girl boss, I will admit. Like, I don't know. I feel kind of charmed a little bit whenever somebody manages to successfully fleece business executives. You know, I feel like I can't get too mad at them. You know, I think I know what else is bothering me. Hawk's arm is too short on this end. Yeah, that's more like it. I bent this one line out of shape, but that's fine. We can fix that. I don't know. Is his arm too long now? Maybe we can shorten it just a little bit. Hang on. But yeah. Man, nobody grows people like they used to. I remember there was this one con man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice. They don't make them like that anymore. Now it's all boring shit like crypto. There's no pizzazz to it. Come to think of it, didn't I also read a while back there was like an article talking about like a hover car or something? I wonder how that's going. The hover car thing was actually pretty interesting. The design at least was kind of fascinating to me. It was basically like a pod, right? So you had like the actual driving compartment here in the middle. So let me add up an exhaust pipe so you could tell which part of the car is like the front and the back. So with like the hover car, what you had is essentially like this pod in the middle where you'd get in and drive it, and then in between that part, the sandwich between like the bumpers would be two massive like rotors that you could essentially activate to start flying, and it would like flip around a little bit so you could get essentially it was like a vertical takeoff and landing thing where you would like flip and go into like speed mode. That's definitely not like gonna be a real thing, right? Like I know I'm very skeptical about a lot of tech stuff, but I feel like that one in particular is just a little bit too far fetched. I don't know. Flying car. The older I get, the more flying cars just seem like an awful idea. Jetpacks too. Like I am as disappointed. Don't get it twisted. I am as disappointed as anyone else that we don't have like futuristic hover boards and all that nonsense. But on the other hand, I also recognize that it's a good thing that they don't exist because the worst people you know will definitely be riding one. I don't know. I watched a video on talking about like the Japanese baseball culture recently, and one of the baseball coaches rode on this like hover bike that was not the crappy hover bikes, those like two-wheeled affairs that you like stand on. I tried to ride one of those one time, and it just did not work out. I I ate shit almost immediately after I got on there. I've noticed that my sense of balance is pretty good as long as I'm not like doing anything. Like for example, I never get tripped. I fall like I trip a little bit, but I never fall over. The wibble wobbles, but it does not fall down, so to speak. But if I'm on like ice skates or something like that, I am a liability to myself and others. It is a no-go. I don't know why that is. It's kind of like when you put shoes on a dog. Like the dog still recognizes fundamentally that it's still the same movements and everything, but it acts all like disoriented and like unsure of itself. That's what I look like trying on ice skates. You'd think that after like 4 years of living in a country where ice skating is like a huge thing, I'd be fine and I'd have learned by now. But nah. And the problem too is that like the longer I put it off, the worse it's going to be because like ice skating is like fundamentally one of those things where you fall down a lot, and the longer I put it off, the more I'm likely to suffer some kind of like tailbone fracture or something. Trying to learn. I don't know. Some people go their whole lives learning without learning how to swim. So I'll probably be fine if I don't have to learn how to ice skate. I don't have to be able to do everything. Everything. Not to mention, I could easily envision a situation where it's like, if you don't know how to swim, you'll die. But I cannot, for the fucking life of me, imagine a situation where I'll die if I don't know how to ice skate. I'm sorry, I just cannot. Okay, which one of these hands has the USB stick? This one. Okay. Hmm. I'm trying to think here about the kind of perspective on this. Wait. Okay, so this hand. Wait. Oh. All right, I might need to redo these fingers back here. In that I should just not show them. I feel like having the fingers there will introduce way more questions than it answers. Also, maybe I should push Hawk's helmet back a little bit more too. Hmm. Recently, I ended up getting a haircut, and that was a pretty good experience. The funny thing is, though, right? I hair talking with my hairstylist is kind of a hit or miss situation because I like making small talk with them, right? Like, I feel like hairstylists are one of those people who are just by the nature of their jobs, they are decent at communicating because they have to hang around near people by virtue of their job, and it helps them to be able to know how to make small talk as well. So I don't mind talking with my barber, but the problem is that it's very hit or miss for me because in a lot of the cases where I'm getting a haircut, I won't. Well, first of all, I don't have hair, so it makes it a little bit awkward. But they don't mind. My money spent as good out here as anywhere else. But the issue is that like I have issues hearing them over the. Hold on, what music playlist is this? There we go. Sorry, I couldn't focus while I had Rolling Girl in the background. In any case, I have some issues hearing them because of the music playing in the background at hair salons. Like, it just gets very difficult for me to like be able to understand what they're trying to say. And I also hate getting misunderstood. But I was lucky enough because like the barber this time around asked me if I he tried to make small talk at first, but then he kind of just stopped trying to make small talk, right? Like I was answering back. I thought I'd hurt his feelings somehow. But as it turns out, the reason he wasn't very quiet, he actually apologized at the end of the haircut because he wasn't very talkative. And he was like, "Yeah, no, usually I talk more, but like I had to really focus on your hair this time." Apparently, like the situation had gotten so bad that like he had to lock in mid session. I'm very proud of my track record at barbershops. There was one time I broke a the blade on one of those like clippers because my hair was just so thick. I don't know. I feel a strange sense of pride whenever something like that happens. Even though it's an inconvenience to the barbers, I apologize for that. But like, it makes me feel like kind of proud in a way. I don't know. I feel like because most people have hair, everybody has at least one or two stories of like something strange that happened while they were at a barber shop or a hair salon, or whichever term you prefer. I use them very interchangeably, even though they're fundamentally like different establishments. Well, not fundamentally, but they have very different, shall we say, intended clientele, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I feel like most barber shops, for example, don't have those like chairs with like the big dome head thingies. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those like chairs that have like a big plastic. This hand is fucked. I had to rework this hand a little bit. But yeah, I feel like because most people have some, at least a few times of going to a barber shop or a haircutters, basically. I don't know why we didn't get why we had to go to say barber shop or hair salon when we could just say hair cutters. I feel like it only feels awkward to say because we know about the other two. I guess a more generic term could be like beautician, but I feel like that also covers stuff like makeup and skincare and such. When I was a kid, I didn't think that beauty schools were the real thing. I thought that was like literally a thing made up for like a cartoon that wasn't real. But I was shocked to learn that it is in fact a real career, which maybe says more about young paths than it does about like the actual career itself. I think. I don't know. I was told not to believe everything I heard on TV, and that just and like the concept of a school where you like go to learn to do spa stuff seemed ridiculous at the time. Being fair to myself, this is also around the same time. This is also back during the time when like I thought teachers lived at the school. Did y'all remember that phase of your lives where when you were a child and you believed that teachers lived in this school? God, to be young again. Actually, come to think of it, I've heard recently that some people have been trying to repurpose a dead malls into like vocational schools and whatnot. I remember it was particularly popular, but among these like charter schools, I think they were called. But yeah, they were basically repurposing dead malls to, like, I remember specifically they repurposed a Macy's in order to turn it into a school, which I feel like is a fine use of the place. And it makes sense too, because like schools are, I reckon, one of the harder things to build. I don't know. I feel like they would have to be particularly difficult. to build, not because of, well, actually, yeah, because of the like different considerations you need. Because like most public spaces, I feel like, are made with mostly adults in mind, right? But that's not the case for the school. You need to like consider like, oh, hey, are the people in this building are probably not going to have very long legs, so we're going to need to like adjust the stairs for that. One of the places that does have that into consideration already is probably the malls. Hmm. Yeah, something about this hand feels way off still. Maybe we can come back to it. It's a little small to begin with. I feel like maybe if I made it bigger, that would help. Okay. Shift it this way. Very cool. What haven't I done? I need to add the jacket parts over here. I can also add Emilian's other arm. Okay, then over here, make some space for that little pop collar thing that she has going on. There we go. That should do it. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, then over here, we need to add the little exhaust vent. Before I forgot. And then, what else is there to do? Jetpack strap here. Wait, actually, this might be... Oh, hold on, I might be a genius. This is like a perfect little place to add the USB drive thing that she has. It doesn't look unnatural because it's just kind of like comfortably in her grip. Oh, this is perfect, actually. Yeah, that's about the right size. All right, we just need to add a little thingy right here. Okay, now we just gotta add this, swing it over here. Then maybe move this out of the way here. Nah, but then actually, no, we need a little bit more on it. Okay, I think this is a good balance for this. Now we just need to make the chevrolets. Chevrons. Make the chevrons, not the Chevrolets. We're not making Chevrolets. I wonder if the name Chevrolet came from the word chevron. Right, and I also need to add these things. The folded jetpack things. The folded jets. Well, no, I guess those are the jetpack things, so to speak. That's not where the wing is supposed to come in from. It's almost like the opposite, isn't it? There we go. These need to be way bigger as well. Okay, then over here. Then I think that should be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, no, we should be good with all that. Okay. All right. I think that should be good for page 10. Am I forgetting anything? Ooh, weird tangent right here with the popped collar. I might just raise that up a little bit. Yeah, that's a little better. I might also change around the bump line right here. May have it be like this. May have it like a... Hang on. Sorry if the sneeze got caught in there. I don't think I can reach for my own mute button in time. Man, you know I'm an old soul because I've had dad sneezes from like my milk money days. Okay, then just move these out here. Let me invert these so that the shorter one is out there. Hang on. I'm abusing the panel border as a ruler to make a small shaking effect back here. Now then, let me thicken these suckers up a little bit. Make sure that I'm processing the whole line. And then also making sure that I'm just grabbing these two and getting them situated where they need to be. I tilt this a little bit. Okay, that should be good. Now we can work on page 11. Put all this stuff into a folder here. Wait, do I still have the other sketch of the erasure face? Yeah. This face always cracks me up. Oh man. I remember back when I was making the sketches for this, I told Raph that I remember during a stream I was like, man, Raph probably isn't gonna want us to use this first draft of it. And I was right. But I'm glad I kept it in anyways. Alright, let's see here. We're gonna need a new frame border folder. There we go. It's so important to laugh during your day. I feel like you should be. I feel like it's especially important to laugh right before, like, during the evening and right before you go to bed. If you have like one good laugh, I feel like it's really good for you. I don't know. I feel like if I have one good laugh, I can end the day satisfied. I put the border a little bit too high there. Okay. Man, I still don't get how CSP handles vertical splits. The horizontal splits always seem to be perfectly aligned, but then the vertical ones are anybody's guess. Okay. I kind of want the glass on both of the goggles to be visible in this panel because I feel like that gives a good kind of like wide eye shock look. Okay, then over here. Recently, one of the video series that I've been watching is this guy that's been talking about like different tiers of fighting game characters, not for like a single game, but across different games. And it's super interesting because the list that he started out with is like low tiers that he finds personally interesting. And it really is a very interesting bunch because you've got people who are like barely usable, but also have a lot of interesting gimmicks to them that make them really unique within their own game. Maybe not viable necessarily, but definitely unique. And I feel like that's super important to acknowledge as well. Also, I always love the opportunity to look at like Street Fighter Third Strike animations. They really popped off with those. Like, I don't know what Capcom put into the water cooler that made those animations pop so hard, but they are so good. I want to study them in depth one day. Okay, not that one. This one? No. This one? Yes. Come on, bud. Grab the point. There we go. Okay. Wait, no, you would be able to see a little bit of the one over here. Yeah. Yep. I delayed stream a little bit. I delayed stream start a little bit because I was busy eating soup, my dinner. And honestly, I think I've unlocked like a new bachelor meal. I don't know. I don't appreciate the term bachelor meal and whatnot because I feel like in a lot of cases, as long as it fills your stomach and isn't too unhealthy, it's just a decent meal, right? And in this case, I think it qualifies as that. I feel like it's a decent thing that just like happened in my back pocket because what I had is that I had a chicken soup, one of those like instant chicken soup things, like from the packet, and I was like, and I thought to myself, this is a little bit too meager. I know it's about you're supposed to cook it in 4 cups of water, but I feel like I'm not going to be full from that. So then I added a few eggs to it. I found out, unfortunately, that if you add too many eggs to a soup, you stop having soup and you start having more like a sort of pseudo congee. It was still very good though. Like, you can't really go wrong with chicken stock and egg. It's kind of messed up that chicken pairs so well as a flavor with egg, isn't it? Right? I feel like that's somewhat perverse from like a cosmic from a cosmology standpoint. In any case, so I had that, and then I also made myself a couple of slices of bread, and I threw some rice in there. And by the time while I was eating, I realized that I'd essentially added the 3 kind of main carbs in there. I had pasta, I had grain, and I had bread. I had the representation from all 3 kinds of carbohydrate. That felt pretty good. Mm-mm. Okay, just stretch this out a little bit more. Actually, I got an idea. Maybe we can just add this one like very near to the front and then just kind of stretch the rest of these out like that, and then this part here is fine. I probably just need to push it back a little bit. Okay. Then over here, good luck with the art. Thank you, Adept. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna add a couple lines here. I catch myself saying some kind of dim-witted shit whenever I turn on autopilot speaking while drawing, because I'll add a few lines over here. Like that's not everything that I have ever done ever when it comes to art. I feel like that fucking Squidward bit where I'm like, yeah, I think I'll just add some lines over here, and in my head I'll be like, oh, feeling adventurous today, are we? To be fair, adding lines over here is a pretty critical part of the whole process. So I'm not going to knock myself for using that phrase too often. Evil dark paths is like, maybe we'll take away some lines over here. Yeah, there's a lot of lines in art, huh? Good thing there's only lines and no points. It'd be, I tell you, it'd be super fucked up if we had to include points as well as lines in art. You know, maybe really tiny square points. That would be, oh my god. It's a good thing they didn't base an entire movement off of just using points either. That would have been messed up. Yeah, uh, genuinely, it's like I'm lines, I'm curves, I'm points. The Art Brothers. That's just how it's. That's just what it's like. Yeah, surely they wouldn't dare try that shit. Not in my house. Not my hobby. Also, I'm realizing now that I had the scale up with when I wanted to scale down. Okay. Oh, I see. She's grabbing Hawk's hand here. I see. I feel like these ears are pointing up way too much. Get those things more angular. There has to be like a. I propose that there must be like a sweet spot for elf type ears where they're like sufficiently long to be noticeable, but not enough to be like World of Warcraft levels of huge earness, you know? Like there's an optimal balance of like head to ear ratio for people with like elf ears. Yeah, the balance of the ears. There must be like a formula. My question is, all right, here's my question. If it was like a more realistic setting or art style, well, not setting, it wouldn't be realistic for people to have elf ears, but if it was like a more realistic art style, would it be more or less jarring if elf ears were kind of huge? Because like I feel like in like a sufficiently, you know, kind of iconicized art style, that's not it's not really a problem because you know you have like hang on like you know, there's this very popular anime that's been going around of this strange elf woman who has a lot of magic spells. I forget her exact hairstyle and name, but you know, her ears are like decently big. But if it's like cartoony like this, right? You don't really question that. But like, is it more or less off-putting if the ears are just kind of pointy but not really? If it's like a super realistic drawing, like on the one hand, I guess what I'm trying to say is, would it be fucked up if elves looked like normal people or what? This is something that I've come to appreciate about fantasy ever since I read this post about Supernatural, the TV show, where it noted that like dragons just look like normal people, and I thought that was mad messed up. Like they don't have glowing eyes, they don't have nothing, no indications of the supernature in question. Like they showed a dragon and it just looked like a normal guy. Like I get they had a limited budget to work with and couldn't have like CGI stuff in there, but Come on, give me something. Throw me a bone. Even Shadowrun has like when dragons are human like in Shadowrun, they have like cool glowy eyes. Actually, a lot of people in Shadowrun just have cool glowy eyes. It's a kind of setting where that's very commonplace. But they have something. Fucking a pair of colored contact lenses runs you what, $40 max for like a really nice pair? You saying you could produce an entire TV show but didn't have $40 to throw around? Come on now. Come on. Get out of here. Hell, I have $40 to throw around. Not like frequently, but I can throw them around. You remember when $20 used to be like a kind of a lot of money to throw around? Now now $20 is just like okay, fine, whatever. But like there used to be a time where it was like $40 like it was $20 and you'd be like, ugh, getting too rich for my blood. Now that threshold's been moved up to like 40 for me. Fucking inflation. This elbow is a strange distance away from the head. Hold on, let me turn off this. Oh, hang on. We've got a couple of things kind of wrong here. Couple things wrong with this picture. Maybe we can make this arm a little bit thinner too. Well, no, and actually, yeah, I actually do have statistical evidence to back up the fact that the $40 is now like not is like a decent amount to drop on anything, a decent amount of money to throw around because now Helldivers 2 is like $40 and everybody's been hopping on that lately. Like I do know some people are still holding out on buying it. I myself have not buying it because like I'm not interested in that kind of game, but I have heard so many good things about it. Helldivers 2 and things like Lethal Company make me happy because in both cases you're playing as characters who cannot ever remove their helmets. No, Helldivers 2 is a wild success story. I don't know. It did very well for itself. I don't think anybody expected that much out of it. I don't even remember hearing that much about it until like very recently. Yeah. Now, who'd have thought that like reasonably pricing games for a change would not actually come back to bite you? We need to encourage this behavior in the market. We need to be like, pss, pss, pss. Here, game companies. You can make them $40 and you can still make a profit. Don't even trip. And that's a large part in why I almost never play like super new games, right? Like I very rarely play whatever's like the new hotness. I still haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, and it's probably gonna stay that way for a long, long time. I've got fucking Yakuza 0 sub stories to finish. I don't have time for that shit. Now I'm just imagining one of those memes where it's like, don't look at her, look at me. But it's just like Kazuma Kiryu in front of that strange little elf man. I don't know why everybody thirsted over that guy. It seems very strange. I heard a voice clip of him and it threw me off so much that I had to close the tab. Like I don't know what I was expecting him to sound like, but I didn't expect him to sound like that. I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing that Asterion is as popular as he is, even though he's got that voice on him, because I feel like it enough like I don't know. I feel like whenever you see like a hot male character, it's like always like this deep husky voiced dude. But this guy sounds like fucking Preminger from the Barbie movies, and he's still pulling like crazy. There's so few full price AAA games I play generally. It's just weird. Yeah, weird indie things for $30, $40, sort of like Warframe. Yeah, good for Asterion. Good for him. We're all gonna make it. It's fucking crazy that like even though I've seen so much fan art and like fan works of the characters, I still don't know what the fuck the game is about. I think Illithids are in there somewhere. I don't know. Those guys are generally pretty bad news whenever they show up. God. I remember there was like this one person, there was like this one rule where like if you have a mecha show where nobody talks about the robots themselves, and you have got a fucked up situation on your hands. Mind Flayer is a pretty big part of that. Huh, I see, I see. I don't know. I feel like in this case the problem is that like that's not a good comparison to make, right? Because I feel like in like role playing tabletop role playing, a big part of what drives everything is the character narratives. So and clearly they've knocked that out of the park. Everybody loves. I haven't seen like particular dislike for any of the characters. I don't think, and that's kind of huge. Hmm. Maybe I can move. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, no. I'm glad that they at least nailed like good character stuff as part of the core role playing game experience. Hang on. Okay, grab this. And then we're gonna kind of excise this whole hand right here. I don't know. Part of it could also just be people trying to be considerate and not spoiling the main story, which I I appreciate. I understand that hustle. I don't know. I have a very mixed opinion on like, oh, this game's been out for like 8 months. Nobody should care about spoilers anymore because, as I mentioned, I'm not very fast on picking up new titles. So it's always appreciated when people are a little lenient with that. So I can move. I could probably move this sleeve up just a touch. You know, maybe that's like a big benefit of like stuff becoming super character focused recently. Nope, nobody cares about the plot enough that I can go in there basically blind for 90% of the time. I can probably make the gun a little bit shorter so it doesn't kind of scrape against the roof of the panel here. Okay, then over here. Put this over here. Yeah, I'm going to try and put a little bit more elbow grease into the comic streams, probably for the next month or so, just because I realized the other day that we're actually starting to come up on the end of issue 1 at the pace that it wraps in publishing them and lettering them. So I'm realizing, wait a minute, we only have like 4 or so pages left on the first issue, and then we have like one comic in between. Before we start publishing issue 2, and that and that's kind of like when my buffer runs out. I mean, not really. I finished like 8 pages before this one, so it's like fine. I wouldn't be completely screwed right off the bat if I didn't um have everything ready to go by the time we moved on to issue 2. But I would really rather prefer not to put myself into that situation. I just know my stomach is going to twist into knots if I leave it till the last minute. Yeah, the struggle of maintaining a buffer. I remember reading this one. There's a Tumblr user called Prokopix or something like that, who publishes occasional writing advice and such, aside from like the luge of memes. And one of the tips that they gave out is that ideally, when you tell a story, you want to have your schedule basically planned out from the beginning. So you recognize a lot, right? Like, okay, I have like about a month or so of maintaining a project. I bet I can maintain focus on this for like 2 years at maximum, or like a year at maximum, and then I'm going to want to move on to something else. In that time, what can I reasonably do? And that's kind of like your game plan, more or less. Rather than like writing the story first and then figuring out how you're going to tell it. It's better to figure out your available resources first, and then kind of tell the story you want through that lens. And I find that that's much more practical than basically any other system that I've heard of before. It's a little cynical, sure, but I feel like it's going to work pretty good. Okay, then shrink this down a little bit. Oops. And if I ever figure out how to make like a oh hell yeah, summon rice beast. Let me get my guy in here. There we go. Yeah, if I ever figure out how to add a soundboard to my stream, I don't know. I probably could do that, but it's just not something that I want to think about right now. But if I add a soundboard to my stream, I need to make one that like is that I remember playing around with KidPix, the like graphical software, a long time back on stream. And whenever you did hit Control Z, there would be this, or like the eraser tool, there would be this one guy who would go like, "Oops." I need to get that guy in here. I need to involve that guy in my streams. I need to arrange for some kind of celebrity guest appearance. That makes a lot, celebrity guest appearance makes a lot of sense for things that aren't. I feel like the places where you see. Oh, also be careful. I am going to. Apparently an ad is going to start soon, so beware for when that hits. But yeah, celebrity guest appearances. What is the wildest one that I've heard of? Gotta be Snoop Dogg on Martha Stewart. That's like the main one I can think of. That's just weird. There's probably like weirder ones, but I'm not well versed enough in like celebrity stuff to know of any particularly outrageous ones. But as I was saying, the strange thing about like quote unquote celebrity guest appearances is that they have, like, by definition, the place that's most likely to feature a celebrity guest appearance is the place where you are most likely to see celebrities already. Like, if you're on a sitcom, right, and you have like celebrity guest appearance, Sir J.R.R. Tolkien or whatever. That guy's been gone for a while. I don't think I can. That's a reasonable one to have. But you know what I mean. If you have like a celebrity guy on there, you kind of have a celebrity guest appearance every episode, though. Like, celebrities are already appearing on your episodes every week. And like, I understand that it's like in different contexts, right? But it still feels a little bit weird to say like, oh hey, we're gonna have this celebrity appearing on our show this week. But like, brother, then who are you hiring to play your characters? It's all. I think I just don't understand television. Maybe that's a problem. Going back to the topic of like timelining your project developments and whatnot. I remember there was. I've always had like a huge anxiety about being tied down to one project for far too long. And I remember that started when I watched this video about a guy who worked on a graphic novel for like 10 years and ended up having it be that long for like a 180 page graphic novel or like a 300 page novel. I forget how long it was. But the problem is that he kept having like all these little embellishments in each page and trying to like make the art style super like detailed and crosshatched like some kind of sailor's journal. And I remember watching that video and that guy explaining how like the complexity continued to balloon the actual work needed. And I was thinking to myself, damn, I never want to be caught in a situation like that. That's kind of why I want to try to to find better, shorter forms of like storytelling, because I feel like, for example, I like these pages, right? Like these kinds of pages, I probably couldn't do one of these a week, right? But contrast those with like those tiny comics I make from time to time. You know, like the one that I made where I took off my bag of rice and it had like a guy in there. I could probably put one of those out every week. That I have confidence in. So I feel like there is. So maybe it's not that I'm not good at. I'm not born for comics making. Maybe it's just that I'm better suited to like making yonkoma, and that could be a legitimate thing. The secret calling of the rice. What can I say? I do love. I do be loving putting guys in situations. Okay, we could probably add the top part of the gun over here. Recently, I've had some issues getting a song out of my head. Somebody posted on Twitter a clip of The Simpsons where they had a bit where the family was attending a musical themed after Planets of the Apes. And I can't get out of my head the one point where they're like Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. And like they have like a hip hop beat backing it up. It was like weirdly good. I don't know. Has anybody actually tried to make a musical based on Planet of the Apes? I feel like we've had musicals for a lot of different things. That Planet of the Apes wouldn't be that strange. I mean, hell, you got the SpongeBob musical. I feel like that was like the peak of like when I understood that there was like an honest to god of SpongeBob musical that had like live action actors in there, like genuine humans in there, rather than like people in like mascot costumes. I was like, oh, so this is the power of theater. Yeah. I remember being in a couple of production. I was in a couple of school productions during middle school, but I was also in this. Okay, so it was kind of crazy. We had not a club for the production itself, but a club for like promoting the production. Yeah, the place where I went to like elementary school for for the last couple of years. By that time, I'd already figured out like digital art. I guess it wasn't elementary school. I guess it was still middle school. What grade was it? It was probably like grade. I want to say like six, sometime around there. When I was like 12 or 13, I'd already started picking up like stuff with with like a digital art tablet. So I heard that the theater group in the school wanted to do a production of Thoroughly Modern Millie, and they wanted some people making posters for it. But this was like an actual committee. Like this was like a huge thing. Weirdly high spec for like for what was essentially like a high school theater group, or not even a group, like a high school theater production. But yeah, Thoroughly Modern Millie was a decent show. Let's see. I remember how it had basically. I don't know if I've told this story before. My friends in high school did take me to see the movie production of The Greatest Showman, but I had no idea that it was a musical going into it. So they started out with the first song, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool kind of intro sequence, and then they started singing midway through, and I'm like, wait a minute. I did not remember that it was a musical. Like I did not know. I wasn't aware. I didn't even know about the movie itself. Like I'm not a guy who keeps up with like movie stuff, so I had no idea what the Modern Showman was about. I did know the story behind P.T. Barnum though, which is why which is why I like after the movie I was my friends were like, "Wow, what an interesting story." And I had to like suck in air through my teeth. To like avoid telling them about like the horrible shit that P.T. Barnum did in some occasions. I'm like, okay, they don't need to know all that. They can just be happy with like Hugh Jackman. No, like genuinely, it was like, wait a minute. This is the second musical act that they've broken out into in the past 30 minutes. I'm starting to think this might be a musical. God. But yeah, good movie. Great songs, honestly. You know, I think we've all seen that at some point of like somebody being like the other side. I remember that was like a pretty popular song to make like animation memes too or something, or animation or like character edits too. I mean, that thing that finger ain't right. I feel like I'm making these too far apart. Hang on. Maybe that's the issue. The curse of the hand. Yeah. Who needs AI art to fuck up your hands when you can do that naturally? I don't need no machine to do this. It's all it's all off the top of the dome. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like we should rate AI's accuracy by how many mistakes it does make in the hand, because then it's just like a real artist for real. God. I swear to God, we're like a stone's throw away from like artists having like a full on fucking Gabriel Ultrakill type monologue against OpenAI and shit like that. Rightfully so. I'm not saying they're in the wrong for it. I'm just saying we're getting there. I remember somebody reading that, saying that like when somebody gets angry on Twitter, it's just a matter of time before they start talking like Sephiroth. That's so true. I felt that in real time. One time I got so mad at a client when I was working that I called them a wretched little beast once the call was over. God. In my defense, the client at that time around was pretty wretched. Seriously, I kind of want to be a fly on the wall when like people get super mad at somebody. Like, I kind of want to see the roast that my bosses have for like whenever they have a bad call with a client. I kind of want to see how the pros do it up close. Like I talk like Sephiroth whenever I get mad at a client, and that's just like me with like a couple of years of experience. What's somebody who's been in the game for like 10 years able to spit out? What kind of insane cusses do they have on tap? Yeah. Do not attempt at home. Yeah, you get one of those like wrestling pay-per-view cable wrestling signs up on your HUD during a Microsoft Teams call where it's like, do not attempt this unless you're like a senior or above. You are not in the right kind of you are not in the right place in the hierarchy to start talking like that. The main problem, I think, is that as you get further up in the hierarchy, you get the ability, like you get the opportunity to tell people to go fuck themselves with more impunity. But the problem is that that you can't do that because those are the people who are making you money, and so that's like the counterweight to it, right? Like it balances perfectly now. Like, yes, you can 100% call that guy an asshole and still keep your job. But unfortunately, the asshole in question is keeping the lights on at home. So you can't really say shit to that guy. Like at a staff level, you're like, I don't fucking care. I'm not the one who won this client, but like at like the executive level, you're like, all right, I had to like work for like for like a whole year to get this guy to come on board. I cannot be blowing it on this one opportunity. Wait until he pays you and then tell him off. There was this one webcomic called Schlock Mercenary that I really used to like. I think it's concluded by now, but I remember reading it back when I was in high school. Yeah, do not blow this for us. And the funny thing is that a lot of the ethos of like the mercenaries in that comic kind of makes sense from a business standpoint. The top one that I can recall being priority one is getting paid, priority two is living long enough to spend it. Like that was supposed to be like a pastiche of potential business maxims in the world of mercenaries, but now that's just sound business advice. True. Yeah, being a mercenary is a gig like any other, huh? I should give that comic a reread. It had some very clever parts in there. Yeah, I got to make sure you're to get your brand out there to make people hire you. God, could you imagine? It's especially difficult. I reckon it must be difficult to do that as a mercenary as well, because like exposure is kind of like the last thing you want when you do violent shit, and yet that's what you're gonna get paid in. Is this a right hand? Wait, where? Oh, this is. Wait, hang on. Oh, she's slipping the USB drive into this hand. I see. Clever girl. That's so subtle. I need to make sure that it stands out way more once I color it. Actually, this kind of solves a couple of the problems that I had with this hand, so that's pretty dope. That's gonna be like, is she holding the USB in this hand? No, that's not the right hand at all. Did she trade it during the middle of the part? No, she's just that smooth with it. Talking about how like mercenaries and businesses are the same thing. It kind of reminds me about how businessmen in the 80s and still now still used to read the Book of Five Rings for like business advice. Like I remember that was a huge thing that business guys would read like the Art of War and shit like that. Yeah, no, that was like a whole thing where like business guys would read the Art of War, the Book of Five Rings, etc., as kind of like to develop a business strategy. That used to be a whole trend, and I guess it is still to this day. I wonder how many of those guys actually got mileage out of it. Got it. Fucking Miyamoto Musashi has to be one of the funniest motherfuckers in all of history, because one of the things that he says in like one of the quotes that I saw attributed to him was like, "Never let your enemy make you mad. When you get mad, you like do not become yourself. You become like an idiot. You make all kinds of mistakes, and the enemy has already killed you, etc., etc." And I'm like, "Huh, yeah, you must know a thing or two about making your enemy mad, don't you, Musashi?" Huh. Mister, that was my whole strategy for like the 80 odd duels that I've been in my whole life. Musashi was so good at pissing people off that one time he pissed a guy off so hard that he managed to kill him in one shot with an oar. You know what? I can't fault you. You got a point there. If it does work, it does work. But still, it's kind of funny how Musashi's like, listen, you know that one thing that I always do to my opponents? Don't let your opponent do that to you. And literally everybody was like, you're spitting. True, true, true. And to be fair, he is spitting. But, I don't know. There's just something very, very funny to me about it. Yeah, just don't get mad. Don't get mad. Listen, don't get mad. I don't know. I read the other day that it's bad. I used to like have this thing, right, where if I got mad, I would bonk my head against the wall for a couple minutes. But I heard that that's actually besides the obvious reasons, it's bad for you because you start associating like that like action of violence with relief from anger, right? And that's bad. Like that's objectively a bad thing to have like a brain association with. So what I started doing instead of it is that whenever I get like super tilted at something, instead of like hitting something or hitting myself, I just hug the nearest object in my room. I started using an old chair that I have in my house for this. I just straight up like hug the chair and I'm like, wait a minute, this is so ridiculous. I can't be mad at this situation. And it works like a charm. I get tilted, I hug the chair. It's an easy system. And it works. And what's crazy is that it fucking works. I mean, it works for me at least. I don't know how much mileage somebody else might get out of it, but it works for me, so I guess that's good enough. Hang on, I need to kind of move the sleeve up a little bit. Something about the math on this shoulder isn't working out. I need to retune this. Perhaps if I rotate this. Yeah, no, I need to bring it even further back. There we go. At least now the shoulder's like not overextended like that anymore. I guess if we could underextend the shoulder just a tiny little bit more. Underextending the shoulder isn't a real phrase, I don't think. Underextending the shoulder sounds like a kind of thing that makes you develop like tennis elbow over time. Fucking there's like this one Twitter account called Deep Leffen, where it's this one dude who makes a machine produced like okay, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's AI garbage, right? But like I respect its honesty because it's one, advertising that it's AI garbage, and two, the guy has noted that he has to like sift through through like 30,000 lines of generated ones to find it like a decent one, and then he also works on that. So I feel like it's enough that I don't immediately see it as an enemy. Anyway, there's a deep that, or he just like fucking writes them and is just lying about the AI generation part, which I could also believe. But yeah, I remember there was this one fucking deep left in tweet where it's like, my doctor is telling me that I'm developing a gaming elbow, which is a lot nicer than gaming asshole, which is what a lot of other people call me. Yeah, it's always a question of the counts with that. Is it truly one guy who's like making these things, or is it just like some droll style genius who's just decided to be funny on the internet for a bit? I think I need to make Amelian's arms just a tiny bit thinner. I've been making people with such huge arms all my life that it feels against my nature whenever I make somebody with like medium-sized, somewhat skinny arms. Like these aren't even really particularly skinny arms. Like they have some circumference to them. These are like normal scale arms, but they feel skinny to me. I just build everyone like brick shit houses. I've got like JoJo syndrome. Okay. I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm very happy that all my characters look so durable. But I am saying it introduces a funny feeling into the equation whenever I have. Yeah, my sense of arm scale is completely skewed. Yeah, it introduces some funny elements into the equation when I'm trying to make like fairly svelte people. Okay, then over here. We don't need this boxy part anymore because we actually remember where the USB stick goes. I keep calling it a USB stick when it's very clearly not that. But I don't have a better name for it, so I guess we're calling it a USB stick. God, a good bit to do would be to call it a flash drive, and it's because data is stored in like this photograph type method where like it get it really is just like one of those old timey photographs where they have like a small explosion and that prints data onto the disk. I should pitch that to Raph. He might like it. Yeah, the very literal flash drive. The only way I can think of to make it more literal is to have it be literally car shaped. Instead of having it be like this kind of generic cassette tape thing, it can just be like shaped like a tiny little toy car. How's that for a drive, you fucking SanDisk knockoff? Oh, I heard recently that they've started making these CDs that can hold like a terabyte of data. I saw that on a news headline. I might need to confirm it just to make sure. Hang on. Super dense CD. Like 1 terabyte CD. Here we go. Wait, that's from 2022. I'm looking for like from very recently. Here we go. Scientists just developed a 200,000 gigabyte optical disc that could replace Blu-rays. Sheesh. 200,000 gigabytes, though. It's a lot of storage, but the only problem is that like that's a lot of storage, but I don't think it'll be commercially available for like a long, long time. Like this is like at the same stage, I reckon, where like we had nuclear fusion of a couple of years back. Like we showed that we could actually make nuclear fusion happen, but you know we're still like way far away from making that our chief mode of energy generation. Fuck! I forgot that I need to add the grenades. That should be fine for this panel since I only need to add like one over here. But it's going to be a pain to remember those for a couple of these other ones. Speaking of flashes, there we go. All right, then over here. I'm going to remove that thumb. It's not like anything I worked on personally, but still really cool to me that I work at the lab where they made that first bit of positive fusion energy generations. Yo, that's kind of cool though. Like even if it wasn't on in your particular wheelhouse, that's still got to be a huge honor, right? Yeah, that's dope. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing you really want to hang your hat on as a facility, though. Like if you're the place that makes fusion happen for the first time ever, that's like some fuck you pay me kind of tourist attraction money. Yeah, like that's. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I should hope that they celebrate. I hope that they partied hard. That it feels like a big achievement. Yeah, exactly. God. I can imagine that there were some people who got kind of uppity about it, like, "Hey, come on, you're gonna charge me for coffee for?" I was like, when I was on the team that discovered nuclear fusion, and you'd be like, "That was like 8 months ago, man. Come on, it's $5. You can afford that." God, I mean, I if I was like on that scale, like if I was like, for example, like one of the first people to walk on Mars, I would for sure try to milk that, right? Like I would be so fucking annoying about it. I would have a mug and everything that'd be like, "Don't argue with me. I set foot on the red planet." Like on the one hand, people do get annoying about it, but on the other hand, I feel like they deserve to get annoying about it a little bit. Like you can't really begrudge. Like you can be mad at them for being annoying, but you can't begrudge them for getting annoying with it. It's one of those complex situations. Yeah. Okay, then put the grenade pin thing over here. Okay, then we need to do the other side. Okay, then over here, and over here. And over here. Got it. I really hope that it's very obvious the panels where I use the reference for the grenades and the panels where I don't use that. I feel like that'll be a fun Easter egg for people to spot. On some panels, it's completely on model, and on other panels, it's just like, yeah, whatever. They'll fit on there. It's fine. They're just like plates. Literally not that important. These puppies for sure won't come up in the climax of the story. Trust. Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's something that I've been thinking of doing a little bit. Is eventually compiling those like weekly schedule sketches into like a single kind of theme thing, and then explaining like any kind of behind the scenes or references that they had in them. I don't know. I feel like that might be fun as a nice little bonus for compilation of them. I don't know if I can put up a compil. I don't think I could put up like a compilation of like the stream thumbnails though, because I don't know like what the what do you call copyright situation on that might be. I can definitely try to put up a gallery of them online though. I've been looking into a couple of different websites. I don't want to announce anything just yet because I still have. I want to like kind of announce them with a bit, but like I have been looking into making stuff like a blue sky and a co-host and all that, while Tumblr and Twitter both kind of suffer from enshittification. What I'm really hoping comes around is like a place where you can put up like a large gallery of artworks. I've been thinking about getting possibly a Pixiv. I don't know. Pixiv, it bugs me a little bit because I feel like I can't navigate it well, and if I have problems navigating your site, then probably skill issue. But I still don't want any difficulties like that. I've heard Cheesy is actually looking pretty solid. Cheesy? I have never heard of that before in my life. Hang on, let me write that down. Cheesy. For some reason, oh, sorry, I've disabled links in the chat. My bad. Oh, wait, you can link? Hang on. Oh yeah, no, it shows up as the triple asterisk. My bad. But yeah, I'll write that down. I'll keep that in mind. That sounds useful. Like the problem with Blue Sky and co-host is that those are supposed to be kind of like in the moment things, right? Yeah, no, that shows up as asterisks for me. Thank you though. But yeah, I feel like a lot of social media is kind of like in the moment things, and they'd be good for like stream announcements and such. But what I would really appreciate, and I've been thinking about trying to make my own website for this, even though that is unfeasible given my technical skill with coding. I'd really like one place where I could just hold everything and not really have to worry about it for long. Exactly. Social media is for making silly shit and for like announcing that you're going to be streaming, not for like managing a portfolio. Okay. Yeah, I mean, technically, I've already done an inaugural bit on my Blue Sky, but I've been. The thing is, right? I've been making this small series about like the inshitification of Twitter, and so I kind of want to be able to like add a final chapter to that before I announce the new sites. I don't know. I just feel like it would be poetically right. Got it. It's weird to think that those were like the good times. Yeah, gotta finish the saga. You know, I gotta have the trilogy. Okay, there we go. All right. Recently, I've been obsessed with this one fighting game clip of this guy in Tekken 8 pulling off like one of those chain grab combos as king, where essentially you kind of like go from one throw into another throw into another throw. And it's super funny because he goes like part one, part two, the trilogy. They made a fourth movie. He's treating it like the reboot of a beloved franchise each time a throw lands. It's the best. There he goes like part one, part two. Oh, it's a trilogy. Make it a trilogy. They released a fourth movie. The fifth movie. Nobody saw the fifth movie. Yeah, fighting game commentary is genuinely some of the best. God, I remember somebody made a post that basically said something to the effect of the difference between fighting games and esports is that like a fighting game player one wearing a VTuber hoodie, and you don't see that shit in esports. And objectively true, but I feel like esports. I don't know. The commentary on fighting games is very memorable to me, but maybe I just don't pay enough attention to like esports commentary. I don't remember a single thing about esports commentary. They do the play by play for sure, but like doesn't have personality to it. It's very like journalistic. It's got a very detached tone to it that like ordinary fighting game commentary. Fighting game commentary feels like your friends razzing you up while you play the game, whereas esports stuff is like one of those like live telebroadcasts of like a carjacking. I don't know how else to put it. Man, it must. I remember there was this one. Yeah, no, bigger esports stuff. How do I put it? Bigger esports stuff just has to just smacks of like gamer chair. I don't know how else to put it. Like everything about esports feels like it's just like an off, like some kind of like perverted offshoot of like the visual design of a gamer chair. I don't know how else to put it. Like everything, like maybe it's just like the aesthetic of it is just very united, but I don't know. It feels like I'm just looking at a bunch of gaming chairs all in a room shooting each other. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm biased because I haven't seen enough proper esports commentary. I haven't been paying enough attention. Yeah, I know. That's probably got to be like a thing where I've only ever seen clips of like the bigger stuff, right? That's probably like a lack of what I call experiences on my part. This one tournament for a while, it basically just had commentary of a bunch of other players hanging out on a couch and commentating the games. That's kind of awesome. And that was for StarCraft? That's so cool. That's great though. Like genuinely I do think that's when commentary is at its best because not only is it does it have the room still for like a lot of technical detail in there, but it also feels much more approachable to like your average person. I don't know. It's probably it might also be that like fighting game gameplay is also much more easy to follow compared to like a lot of esports stuff because for example for League of Legends I could not follow that shit if you had a gun to my head, but for fighting games it's like, oh, that guy's beating the shit out of the other guy, nice. Yeah, that might also be a factor in it. Okay, and put these two here, this one over here. Hmm. Will I be able to finish this page tonight? I kind of want to see if I can do that. Because if I can't do that, that means that I can probably start moving on to coloring page 9 through 10 next time. Let's see if I can finish this page tonight. All right. Wait, no, that line's fucked. But yeah, I'm really glad hanging out with V and everybody else in the server has made me more. Has given me like some. Has gotten me into like the fighting game community because I feel like it's genuinely like one of the most joyful. Like whenever I sit down to watch especially when I watch it with other people, it's just nice the feeling of everybody watching this whole thing at once. That's a feeling that I didn't really get a lot because I didn't really relate this to like sports stuff growing up, right? I probably could have gotten that experience, that same sort of experience with like football or baseball or whatever, but now that I finally have it, I can understand why everybody loves like the big game of the season. It helps me to relate to other to experiences like that. Although, although there, in my case, you probably kind of have to bring your own buffalo chicken wings rather than like hope that somebody brings them up to the Super Bowl Sunday potluck. Cypress is also is really good for getting you into fighting games as well because I feel like she has a lot of dedication to them. Especially because she also covers some of the weirder ones, like the that one that was supposed to be that was like lost media until very recently. I forget the name of that, but she made that stream super fun. I'm still not. What was it called? Like Dark Urges or something like that, or Chaos Control or something. I don't remember the name of the game, but the game itself was also very memorable. Like it had very much that kind of like rotoscoped kind of gameplay, but it also had like some very exaggerated graphics for some of the characters. Like I remember there was this like one elf guy that had like very exaggerated features that I wasn't expecting to see. But I was delighted when they closed up on them. Okay, then over here. You know, I'm glad that I took the executive decision to make the cane that Horatio has much more kind of in line with like actual canes, because originally it was supposed to just be like dome topped, right? It wasn't supposed to have like this longer handle on the back. But like I said, that was kind of like an executive decision on my part. Or I don't remember if Raph okayed it. I remember the cane was kind of up to me how it was drawn because, artist. But I'm glad I made it like this, because otherwise, trying to figure out how the hand would like rest on top of that dome would have been fucking difficult. Now I kind of know just like the general resting position of the hand on top of like this plane here, which makes my life a lot easier. Accessibility benefits everyone, after all. Okay, then over here. Perfect. Okay, then I'll put this over here. I can't forget the little scrap of cloth that was on Horatio's head. I don't know if that I'm gonna keep that in the last couple pages of the comic, but yeah, no. Obviously, like it's cool to. I don't know, like it has a lot of benefits having genuine accessibility stuff, because if you just like make a random as like prosthetic for a character and without, like, for example, I have this character with prosthetics. Her name is Olivia, and I actually wanted to learn a little bit more about how prosthetics work because of that, and it helped me a lot. Not just because it creates a more grounded and sensible depiction of how prosthetics work, but also because it helped me to understand, oh, okay, so that's like what people look for in a prosthetic. That's kind of like how somebody with a prosthetic sees their own thing, right? Like they have like a certain, I put it, because you understand like the feeling of wearing it, it becomes easier to draw as well. Like there's genuinely so many benefits to like putting in the work and putting in the research. Hmm. Okay. Okay, there we go. One finger, two finger, three finger, four. That pinky is a little bit too big. Yeah, if I just reduce the size of it a little bit like this, it should be fine. Yeah. Recently, oh yeah, I was talking about going to the barber earlier. Recently, I've started getting into. So I've talked about before how like my main background noise while I work is actually ASMR videos. I like having like some kind of background noise in ASMR stuff whenever I'm working. Especially if it's like late at night and like, the day is kind of winding down. I don't want to listen to like music, and I just kind of listen to these ASMR things. And recently I've been getting into like these barbershop ASMRs that they have, which is cool. Like the hair, the beautician puts on the like microphone pads on their wrists. You can hear all the kind of cool sounds of the scissors and everything. It's interesting. But then like they have like this, in one of the videos that I watched, they whipped out what I can only describe as a sort of wand. Like it looked kind of like a maraca with like a blue liquid. Let me see if I can find the picture of the actual. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it in my history. It's got to be in here somewhere. Like it was like this kind of weird, half filled with liquid wand thing. Where is it? I don't think I see it here. But yeah, it was like this weird kind of like half full thing, and it felt really weird because it made like those like burbling sounds. Whenever you flip a bottle full of water and it was like bloop, it made those sounds like that. But yeah, I was baffled when I was like randomly listening to this, and the hairstylist suddenly pulled out the fucking wands. I genuinely don't know what else to call them. They were wands. God. Yeah, she was casting spells on that woman's hair. I don't know. I feel like insofar as like bad places to get a spell cast on, getting a spell cast on your scalp probably isn't the worst. I don't know. Like it'll probably be uncomfortable, but like, maybe it'll produce a nice tinkly feeling every once in a while. Kind of like when you use those like tools. Those like scalp scratcher thingies that look like this. Kind of like that. Maybe it'll feel like that if you got shit cast on your scalp. Okay. Oh, be careful. Apparently, another ad is going to be starting soon. So if I get cut off mid sentence, be warned for that. I swear to God, I need to hurry up and start preparing the thing that I'm going to do for like sending off the channel points. I got to hustle on that. I have to make that shit a priority after I file my taxes. Like I got some shit due soon. Like for some reason, March is always the time of the year where shit starts to get serious for me. But I swear that like it's coming. I'm gonna like get rid of the fucking affiliates soon, and we'll see the last of these advertisements. I swear. I promise. Big things are coming. Oh boy. Yeah, one day, one day. Hopefully within like the next month or so, within like the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to do something for that. Or I don't know. I might just say fuck it, we ball and just quit it at one point. But like I said, I kind of want to give everybody a chance to like spend their channel points before I permanently obliterate them with my laser beam. It just feels discordious to like let that go to waste. Yeah, yeah. No, that'll be yeah. It'll be nice not to have to hold my audience hostage while fucking, I don't know, some kind of DoorDash dumbass starts advertising their services through the broadband. You know, for the people who aren't subscribed. I don't know. Personally, I find subscriptions to be kind of like a big commitment, right? Not that big, right? It's not that serious, but like, I don't know. They make me nervous as well because like Twitch it always assumes you want to like have them be on like repeat. And while that I reckon that must be the case for a lot of people, I don't know. I don't like anything that tries to like automate its dispersal without my say so. Hell, I was manually paying for my phone bill up until around like a month ago. A couple of weeks back, I switched so that my plan automatically took it from my credit card, which is useful because you know. Oh wait, hang on. All right, I'll leave drawing that to the very end, but you know, I kind of wanted to finish the page here, but honestly, I feel like maybe this might be a good place to call it. We've done some good work. We finished the last page and half of this page, like probably like a solid 40% of this page. Did I remember to turn on the time lapse? I did not, but I shall do it now. Yeah, no, I'm getting pretty tuckered out. Let's see if I can find somebody to raid into. I saw my social media post. I forgot to hit go live. Son of a bitch. All right. V's doing some stuff in Street Fighter 6, so we'll go say hi to her. Well, it's fine. I let the people know about my soup. That's what matters the most. All right. I will see you all around. I will be back on Friday for some Yakuza 0, and I will see you all later. Bye.